but I am in favor of saying that we're not going to treat people who are undocumented across the border as criminals. That's correct. I am prepared to get rid of the filibuster to pass a Green New Deal.
Who here would abolish their private health insurance in favor of a government-run plan? All right.
Will you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking your first day in office, adding the United States to the list of countries who have banned this devastating practice?
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking.
What would you do about the millions of, specifically, assault weapons that are already in circulation? What do you do about those?
Well, there are approximately 5 million, to your point, Craig. We have to have a buyback program, and I support a mandatory buyback program. It's got to be smart. We got to do it the right way. And yeah, I am radical. I do believe that we need to get radical about what we are doing and take it seriously.
Right.
Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed.
Welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. I would like to welcome to the show also the one, the only. Everyone's like, who is it? It's Matthew Mauston, Blaze TV contributor and actor and producer extraordinaire, who I regret to say we had another opportunity to bring out the whiskey and drink the whiskey, and we didn't do it. And I have stupid water in this cup.
Stupid water thing that
hydration
thing that makes life possible.
So happy to be here with you today, of all days, to talk about last night's big CNN interview with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Her first big girl interview. Well, kind of, because it was pre-taped. And also she couldn't do it on her own. She had to bring her running mate, Tim Walz. So like maybe not full big girl interview, maybe like teenage interview.
First day at school.
Yeah.
Go with your mom.
Yeah. Mommy has to hold your hand. You cry a little bit when you get to your class, but it's, you shake it off and you keep going. And so I want to play, let's just kind of review this. It was in totality 18 minutes. I believe I saw that Kamala spoke for about 16 minutes because, Tim had to get some blatant lies in there too. But so 18 minutes. We watched the entirety. Did you?
I didn't watch all of it.
It was I was like, what is going on? The energy was off. She was saying crazy things, flip-flopping back and forth. So let's go through some of this. I want to play CNN's Dana Bash, who, to her credit, she did call out a lot of this nonsense to Kamala and Tim's faces and held their feet to the fire. I don't think that they were expecting that. Watch this.
New way forward and turn the page on the last decade of what I believe has been contrary to where the spirit of our country really lies.
But the last decade, of course, the last 3.5 years has been part of your administration.
I'm talking about an era that started about a decade ago.
A decade ago.
Hang on a minute.
So that was 2014.
Who was there then?
Barack
Obama.
Hussein Obama. Weird. By the way, again, 12 out of the 16 of the last years, they have been in charge.
Yeah, but to be fair to her, if she went over 10, she'd have to get her shoes off and start counting her toes.
That's true.
I mean, I don't know how many she's got, but
what an odd thing to say. What do you mean?
She's a complete idiot. I mean,
you guys have dominated the last decade. What are you talking about? By the way, the last 4 years of that decade have been yours.
Look, the funny thing about this, which is just absolutely outrageous anyway, that she's anywhere near the presidency in any way, shape or form. The downside for the country is if she gets in, it's over. The good side for us is we're going to have a lot of fun.
A lot of content.
And a lot of content as it goes down because she's an absolute complete moron.
Yeah.
She's moronical. I
It's
could do the impression, but there's an F-bomb in there, so I'm not going to do it. But it is like, Simple Jack.
right.
It is like simple Jack, right?
I mean, to think that a woman can rise to the level of vice president purely from skills that have nothing to do with any of this is quite incredible. And they say America's not the land of opportunity. Yeah. Kamala's just an example of that.
Like Cleopatra, right? Cleopatra did the same thing. So it's very old. But I love the fact that it's all about like empowering women, and then the one person that they have there that could be, just think about this, like could be the first female. But if she was the first female president of the United States, you've got to look at her history. And it's just horrible. I mean, that is like, can you imagine? It's like, this is the person, she smashed the glass ceiling. This is great. Look, kids, you too can sleep with, I'm not going to say it.
Willie Brown. So yeah, it's just incredible. So Dana Bash also asked Kamala what she would say to voters, who maybe do want to go back to a Trump economy where things were much better and everything was less expensive and they could actually afford to pay their bills. And it's a really tough moment for Kamala. Watch.
But I wonder what you say to voters who do want to go back when it comes to the economy specifically, because their groceries were less expensive, housing was more affordable when Donald Trump was president.
Well, let's start with the fact that when Joe Biden and I came in office, during the height of a pandemic, we saw over 10 million jobs were lost.
Right. From COVID.
People, I mean, literally, we were all tracking the numbers. Hundreds of people a day were dying because of COVID. But the economy had crashed. In large part, all of that because of mismanagement by Donald Trump of that crisis. When we came in, our highest priority was to do what we could to rescue America. And today, we know that we have inflation at under 3%. A lot of our policies have led to the reality that America recovered faster than any wealthy nation around the world. But you are right. Prices, in particular for groceries, are still too high. The American people know it, I know it. Which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. For example, dealing with an issue like price gouging.
Shut up.
Yes, prices are too high. And I am second in command. But don't worry, I'll put in price controls and soon everyone will have a breadline.
Look, I don't know about everyone else watching this, right? But do you remember the Simpsons episode where it goes like where Homer is asked what he's thinking, and it goes up to his brain, and there's this like monkey that's like crashing the cymbals together, like da, 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 da. Like that's whenever I look at her, I'm like, I think about going up to her head, and there's like me, I'm nothing in there, or maybe something like scuttling around, because she's even terrible at BSing, right?
Oh, she's terrible. She's horrible at that. She's awful. Well, that's why she is infamous for her word salads. So she's not even good at like the lying part of this or the I'm just going to speak off the cuff and have it make sense and sound very flowery and beautiful. She's like, yeah, actually things do suck around here. You're right. And I am in charge now, but put me in more charge. And that's when I'll really fix things, which leads me to my next clip here of Dana asking her, okay, so you're saying that you can fix things, but like, why haven't you done that? Why wait? Why haven't you done that? You have already been in office. Watch.
My proposal includes what would be a tax credit of $25,000 for first-time home buyers, so they can just have enough to put a down payment on a home, which is part of the American dream and their aspiration, but do it in a way that allows them to actually get on the path to achieving that goal and that dream.
So you have been vice president for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
The steps that you're talking about now, why haven't you done them already?
Well, first of all, we had to recover as an economy, and we have done that. I'm very proud of the work that we have done that has brought inflation down to less than 3%. The work that we have done to cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month for seniors. Donald Trump said he was going to do a number of things, including allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices. Never happened. We did it. So now, as I travel in the state of Georgia and around our country, the number of seniors
but Georgia's
that have
over there, by
benefited,
the way.
I've met,
She's
I was
just
in Nevada
pointing,
recently,
just so you know.
a grandmother who showed me her receipts. And before we capped the cost of insulin for seniors at $35 a month, she was paying hundreds of dollars up to thousands of dollars a month for her insulin. She's not doing that anymore.
You maintain Bidenomics is a success.
I maintain that when we do the work of bringing down prescription medication for the American people, including capping the cost of the annual cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000.
By the way, Donald Trump did handle insulin. Right. He did that, and they undid everything that he did on day freaking one. That's why they had to do it again.
It is so comical if you follow this at all. And this is what I was saying to people out there, and we keep saying over and over again, you've got to be engaged, because you need to, when they come out with this BS, you've got to be able to say, look, it was already done. Yeah. You've got to call them on it every single time, because the I don't want to say low information, because that's a little bit derogatory to people, because I just think people are living their lives.
You should just call them stupid.
Those stupid people. Stupid people. They're not the smartest people. Not like me.
Obviously, we're not talking about you if you're watching this program. You are not.
Well, of course not. And everyone that watches this knows. I mean, they're clued up. This is why we appeal to them to go and talk to these morons that are walking around. But what happens is a lot of people are working. They don't get to be involved, and then they see that clip and they're like, "Oh, they're doing this." And by the way, if you're talking about restarting the economy, why not do the tax breaks or whatever for home buying? Because we all know that buying a home is really important, that the mortgage industry and the home industry is really important for the economy. But as we also know, that if you tax a company, for example, who do they pass that on to?
The consumer.
The consumer. Yeah. So what's going to happen when you give someone $25,000 to buy a house? They're going to push the price of the house up by $25,000. It's not going to make any difference whatsoever.
And then why stop at $25,000? That's such an arbitrary number now. Why not 50? Why not 100? Do you see what happens when you start messing with subsidies and the cost of homes and the cost of whatever the hell you're trying to give the subsidy to? It jacks up the entire system. But another thing that she said there, inflation is at 3%. Well, what did you guys get it up to? First of all, it's way higher than 3%.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just living and paying for things, and I can tell you that. But she's like, we're going to take credit for reducing it a little bit from the highest point that it was because of us. But I'm just going to tell you that inflation is down. Well, what did you guys jack it up to? Oh, she's silent on that one. All right, I want to play. Let's get into her running mate, who, again, was not just there for moral support. He was asked a couple different questions, and he was actually fact-checked also by CNN. Let me play a couple clips here. Number one is the big IVF story that ended up being a total lie. Well, he was actually asked about that. Watch.
You had to clarify that you had said that you and your wife used IVF, but it turned out you used a different kind of fertility in order to have children. And then when you ran for Congress in 2006, your campaign repeatedly made false statements about a 1995 arrest for
she does not
drunk and
want
reckless
to ask
driving.
these questions.
What do you say to voters who aren't sure whether they can take you at your word?
Well, I've been very public. I think they can see my students come out, former folks I've served with, and they vouch for me. I certainly own my mistakes when I make them. The one thing I'll tell you is I wished in this country wouldn't have to do this. I spoke about our infertility issues because it's hell, and families know this.
Answer the freaking question, dude.
I spoke about the treatments that were available to us that had those beautiful children there. That's quite a contrast in folks that are trying to take those rights away from us. And so I think people know who I am. They know that record. They've seen that. I've taught thousands of students. I've been out there. And
what has that got anything to do with anything?
I'm still like passionately, whether it's guns in schools or protecting reproductive rights. The contrast could not be clearer between what we're running against. The vice president's position on this has been clear. And I think most Americans get it if you've been through that. I don't think they're cutting hairs on IVF or IUI. I think they're cutting hairs on an abortion ban and the ability to be able to deny families.
Well, it got even arguably worse, because he was also asked about his other big lie, which, I just had Lieutenant Colonel Alan West on the show, and he was just, so pissed, which I would be too. If I sacrificed my life, spent time like that in combat, in war zones, to have this yahoo who skipped out whenever it meant the most and they really needed him to go try and claim that. I would be I mean, I am pissed, but I'd be even more pissed.
Oh, yeah.
So he was asked about that, and here's what he had to say about his military record. You're not going to believe this excuse.
Country is just starting to get to know you. I want to ask you a question about how you've described your service in the National Guard. You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor.
Talking about school.
My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves.
Do you mean you lie? Does everybody lie?
I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools and around guns. So I think people know me. They know who I am. They know where my heart is. And again, my record has been out there for over 40 years to speak for
It's
itself.
a lie.
And would you like to answer the question?
The idea that you said that you were in war.
Yeah.
Did you misspeak as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar's not always correct. But again, if it's not this, it's an attack on my children for showing love for me, or it's an attack on my dog. I'm not going to do that.
Nobody attacked your dog. Like, what do you mean? An attack on my dog? Shut up. What are you talking about? They're attacking you because you're a liar, because you lied. And it wasn't just him saying weapons in war that one time. He talked about it multiple different times over the years. He's like, I've been in public office for 40 years. Yeah, bro, you've been lying about it this long. That doesn't prove anything.
You know what's amazing about this, actually? It was really amazing about this. Is number one, we're all shocked that CNN's actually asking these questions.
Which, again, she feels very uncomfortable asking.
She doesn't like it.
She does not want to.
She doesn't want to do it because I'm wondering whether or not they did not give them the questions up front, right? Because those are just, if they did, then those are terrible answers.
Well, they're terrible answers either way, but yes.
So think about this. We've said this before when, I think, was it Donna Brazil or whatever, and that she gave over the questions.
Hillary.
Is that what you see is these questions have to go up up the chain, right? Like, it's not like here where you come out and you do whatever you want because they allow you to the freedom to do that, but they have to be approved because this is a huge thing.
Right.
So what has changed? Is it that they go, these guys are so terrible? They're so terrible that we can't have them out, or have they all of a sudden discovered their journalistic integrity?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think that it's because they know all eyes are on them. They're the only ones that scored this interview. There have been major issues that, like, they would look like, I mean, total hacks, which they are, but they would look like total hacks if they did not ask those questions. Because if you watch the entirety, I know we got to take a break in a second. If you watch the entirety of the video, she's trying to give them, she's giving them like, you could use this as an out. You could use this as an out. You could use this as an out. So like, she didn't want to like catch them in some moment. She was hoping that they would give her a good answer, but they knew that they had to ask those questions. You could not have the only exclusive interview in 5 freaking weeks and not ask questions about all of these blatant flip-flops, misrepresentations, or what have you. Which, by the way, when we come back, let's get into some of these flip-flops. I say some. We probably don't have time. I could do 2 shows and not have time to get through all of the flip-flops of Kamala Harris. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Relief Factor. So if you are one of the millions of Americans who live in constant pain and you just think that that's life now, it doesn't have to be that way. Relief Factor, I take it. Matthew has taken it. I call you Matthew.
It sounds posh, doesn't it?
I felt like being formal for a second.
I feel like I should be on the naughty spot when teachers reprimanded me there.
Matthew.
I'm sorry.
Matthew Marsden takes it. You shouldn't be sorry about this because it makes you feel good. It worked for you.
It did work for me.
It works for me. It works for millions of Americans. So here's what you need to do. Whether it's, knee pain, neck pain, elbow pain, wherever you've got pain, it's the inflammation that's actually that's the root cause of your pain. Relief Factor is an all-natural anti-inflammatory, very, very potent, that knocks out that pain because it targets the root cause, the inflammation. So go to relieffactor.com, get that 3-week quick start. It's $19.95. They've got a guarantee, so you've got nothing to lose except your pain. Go to relieffactor.com. That is relieffactor.com. All right, so let's go through some more of these lowlights here. So Dana Bash asked Kamala, It seems like a reasonable question that you should probably be prepared to answer. We were just talking about like they seem like they were totally unprepared to answer these questions. They had to know that they were coming on a most basic level, still couldn't answer them. So she's like, okay, what will you do on day one in the White House? And here was this word salad from Kamala. Watch.
If you are elected, what would you do on day one in the White House?
Well, there are a number of things. I will tell you, first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class.
The middle class that you've decimated?
When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that people are ready for a new way forward.
Says the woman who's currently in office. She's right about that part. We are wanting a new way forward. We are ready for a new way forward. We do want to close the chapter of the last 4 years. But it's not with you. We're trying to get away from you. She's like the boyfriend or girlfriend you can't quite break up with because they keep like, well, I think we're ready to just hit restart.
Yeah, we can break up with her.
We just refresh. Like, no, this is not working. This is not working. So first she says that. Then, I'd just like to say she's talking about a new way forward. Then she's stealing Donald Trump's no tax on tips. Now she's claiming a lot of things about the border that I think we'll get to. So she sounds a lot like she's just trickling into the MAGA territory. And I want to play her fracking flip-flop now. Watch.
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020 that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
In 2019, I believe, at a town hall, you said you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So it changed in that campaign?
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my word, and I will keep my word.
What made you change that position at the time?
Well, let's be clear. My values have not changed. I believe it is very important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis in terms of the climate. And to do that, we can do what we have accomplished thus far. The Inflation Reduction Act, what we have done to invest, by my calculation, over probably $1 trillion over the next 10 years, investing in a clean energy economy.
Oh, you're admitting that the Inflation Reduction Act was not about inflation at all.
Creating over 300,000 new clean energy jobs. That tells me, from my experience as vice president, we can do it without banning fracking. In fact, Dana, I cast the tie-breaking vote.
You notice her energy is just
actually increased leases for fracking.
Really bad. I mean, this entire interview, I was watching it with Steven, and I was like, dude, this energy is bad vibes. I mean, it felt depressing at times. She just seemed, maybe she was trying to overcompensate for, I'm sure, what her aides were telling her, please stop going out and cackling all the time. Like, this is serious. So maybe she was trying to go for this authoritative tone and just completely missed the mark. But I mean, it felt like two people who are preparing to lose, who are just trying to like, all right, I'm going to go out and I'm just going to just try really hard to like not screw this up. I mean, it felt weird, but there she was saying, no, I don't support banning fracking. And Dana's like, so what made you, did you have like an epiphany? Like what made you change? She was giving her the out. And instead she's like, no, my values haven't changed. Homegirl, we have you on record, on video. We just played it at the beginning. We have you on video saying, I support banning fracking at the federal level. You can't lie your way out of video.
The problem with being a completely fake person, right, is you have to remember your lies, right? So when the people that advise you the way you could be, which is, oh, be happy, be smiley, be like, ha, ha, ha. And then they go, well, actually, hang on a second, because that's polling really badly. People think you're like a weird witch. So what we need you to do is actually be more serious, right? And to her, more serious, she changes her demeanor, but she doesn't have the out. And you know, like when you act or when you're teaching anyone improvisation, there are ways that you can get out of giving yourself a second to breathe, right? To get that idea and go, okay, where the ideas are. Her way of doing it, she does it two ways. She bumbles on about things, right? Which is not good when you are constantly being asked on the fly.
Right.
Or she cackles.
Yeah.
She couldn't do either in these things.
Right.
And you could see her, like, where she started going down the word salad and then like kind of came back.
Yeah.
Right? You saw it in that little clip. She did it again.
Right.
But she's got nowhere to go because she's like an empty suit. She doesn't know who she is.
It's because she's concentrating so hard on not screwing up the answer that it just comes off totally flat.
Yeah, because she doesn't have any stances on anything. She doesn't believe in anything. And this is why Trump is so effective, right? Because you get, like there is not that filter there. We all know that, right? It goes there, out, right? Like, he's the most transparent politician of all time because he thinks it and he just says it, right? And this is, it is going to be, and the debate is going to be hilarious, actually, because she doesn't know who she is. Right. He knows exactly who he is.
Yeah.
I mean, they both have their issues in different ways. Like Trump, you're like, dude, stop.
Right.
Like, I wish you had a little bit of a filter. But that is the other side of it. You got a completely vacuous person that has never stood for anything in their life. And what is happening now is you're seeing increasingly, because the Democrats, all they care about is power, and we keep saying this over and over and over and over and over again. If you actually push them on anything, which they've been getting a free pass for literally 8 years. I mean, even if you go back to Obama was smart, right? You might think he's evil, but he's smart and he's very good on the fly.
Yep.
They've literally got the two biggest morons that they could put out there. I mean, this is hilarious.
Okay, so that leads me to this last clip here, I believe. Yeah, this last clip here. I mentioned that she tried to say the most outlandish things about the border, which, again, you knew that they were going to ask you this, that you knew they were going to ask you about the border issue. There was all this talk about, was Kamala the border czar or was she not? And even CNN, like, no one ever said she was the border czar, even though they themselves said it at the time. So the border obviously was going to be an issue. You know you're going to be asked. And this answer, you have to believe that she was still unprepared to answer it because it was so bad. I cannot believe that this was their planned answer on whose fault it is that there is a border crisis right now. Watch.
During the Biden-Harris administration, there were record numbers of illegal border crossings. Why did the Biden-Harris administration wait 3.5 years to implement sweeping asylum restrictions?
Well, first of all, the root causes work that I did as vice president, that I was asked to do by the president, has actually resulted in a number of benefits, including historic investments by American businesses in that region.
That doesn't make me happy.
The number of immigrants coming from that region has actually reduced since we began that work. But I will say this, that
why? Because we sent them money?
Joe Biden and I and our administration worked with members of the United States Congress on an immigration issue that is very significant to the American people and to our security, which is the border. And through bipartisan work, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress,
most conservative
a bill
members.
was crafted, which we supported, which I support. And Donald Trump got word of this bill that would have contributed to securing our border. Because he believes that it would not have helped him politically, he told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. He killed the bill.
Oh, no.
A border security bill that would have put 1,500 more agents on the border.
To process more people into the interior of the country, ma'am. That was what the bill did. That's it. To process more people. That's all. To say that this was Donald, this is all to some big dastardly plan from Donald Trump, who got word that we were working with the most conservative members of Congress and then got on the phone and told them to kill the bill. It was a shitty bill. It would have done nothing to secure the border. That's why it got killed. Kamala, Madam Vice President. All right, we gotta go to take a break. We'll be right Let's just put a bow on the topic of Kamala Harris being terrible at explaining her positions because she doesn't have any. This isn't new to the Democrats that have worked with her for a while. There's a book called The Truce, Progressives, Centrists, and the Future of the Democratic Party, released in January. And it was an obvious attempt to try to replace Biden-Harris with someone like Gavin Newsom at the beginning of this year. Obviously, they didn't, I guess it wasn't a good enough book because they weren't successful. But in this book, Harris aides actually say she ain't made for this. Okay. A top aide from the 2020 campaign said of Kamala, it was rotten from the start. A lot of us, at least folks that I was friends with on the campaign, all realized that, yeah, this person should not be the president of the United States. Aides told the authors about a rift between Kamala's sister, Maya, who served as Kamala's campaign chair and Kamala's campaign manager, said it was the most awkward day of my life. People were literally having a 30-minute audit meeting with Juan, the campaign manager, about how the campaign was going, and they were walking across the hall into the same meeting. I remember Juan popping into my office to find out how the meeting with Maya went. They talked about mismanagement of funds. She cared less about how much money I was raising for her and more about what I was doing to create a good, inclusive workspace. And apparently that good, inclusive workspace she didn't extend that to herself, I guess. The campaign's state operations manager in, one of these states here said, this is my third presidential campaign, and I have never seen an organization treat its staff so poorly. We've refused to confront our mistakes, foster an environment of critical thinking and honest feedback, or trust the expertise of talented staff. We find ourselves making the same unforced errors over and over. Now, you may say, well, they're just admitting, that maybe they ran a poor campaign. No, these are Democrats. They never speak ill of their own, ever. Because they understand the importance of winning. And even these people who worked for her previously were like, she is not qualified to be running for this job. She is very hard to work for. When you got it coming from her top aides, how many more people would you like to hear it from? Because we've also heard it from all of these White House rumors through all these years that she's a terrible person to work for.
Well, look, in the film industry, there's a bunch of directors that are notorious that they're really difficult to work with. But people don't mind because they're brilliant and they get a result. Yeah. So what you've got here, I think, as well, in the past, whether you've had someone who has been difficult to work with, people kind of like go, do you know what? They're difficult to work with, but they get results. They're competent. And what we have here is we have someone with the IQ of that plant. That possibly could be the president of the United States. Right. And she's horrible.
Right.
So there's no positives, there's no upside. And that's where they're going, hang on a second, because eventually people do start saying, this is going to reflect on me.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
It is, because they know it's going to be a big disaster.
Yes.
So how bad is it? I mean, you've seen the interviews. You're hearing what people are saying. And this is not like a popularity contest, even though I keep saying that the Democrats want it to be a popularity contest, which is weird because she's massively unpopular. Right. So they don't want to make it about her in any way. It's a very, very strange situation to be in. How bad is it? And this person is going to have the keys to the...
No, she isn't. Don't put that into the universe. No, she isn't.
Don't you say that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Exactly. No, she isn't. All right, we got to take a break. We'll be back with more. But we want to remind you guys, we've got our latest Blaze original documentary, pulling back the curtain on the fraud that went down during COVID. This is Scamdemic, How Fraudsters Cashed In on Billions. And it talks about all of those. Remember those PPP loans? Mm-hmm. Alex Stein went over there to dig into this murky world of PPP loans, showing you exactly how some people gamed the system while you were just trying to keep the lights on. It's really, really, I mean, you guys, I am very cynical. It's even shocking to me. And of course, you have Alex looking goofy there in his backwards hat to lead you through, navigate you through this one. You can go to blazeoriginals.com/Sarah. You guys know I love Alex. The backwards hat cracks me up. Go over to blazeoriginals.com/Sarah. Subscribe for a 7-day trial plus $30 off with promo code SCAMDEMIC. And you can watch it Wednesday, September 4th. That is blazeoriginals.com/Sarah. So obviously, when it comes to Donald Trump, there's a lot to love about the guy. But is peculiar comment from him. You know, Donald Trump, the guy who has been highlighting his tremendous achievement of overturning Roe versus Wade. And I'm trying to figure out where he's coming from on this particular comment he made on abortion just yesterday. Watch.
You overturn,
everyone does.
I think Roe,
does, yeah.
And you want abortion to be a states' rights issue. In Florida, the state that you are a resident of, there's an abortion-related amendment on the ballot to overturn the 6-week ban in Florida. How are you going to vote on that?
Well, I think the 6-week is too short. It has to be more time, and so and I've told them that I want more weeks.
So you'll vote in favor of the amendment?
I'm voting that I am going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. Look, just so you understand, everybody wanted Roe v. Wade terminated for years, 52 years. I got it done. They wanted it to go back to the states. Exceptions are very important for me, for Ronald Reagan, for others that have navigated this very, very interesting and difficult path.
So Trump is obviously referring to Florida's abortion referendum on Amendment 4 that will be on the ballot this November. Their 6-week abortion ban went into effect in May. Now, I will say Trump's team was very quick to walk this back. Trump's press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, issued a statement saying that Donald Trump has not yet said how he will vote on the ballot initiative in Florida. He simply reiterated that he believes 6 weeks is too short. So I guess my question is this just the side of Donald Trump that just wants to please everybody and thinks maybe if he comes to the middle, if he tries to compromise on certain things that are important to the left, that they'll finally like him, which is never going to be true? Or is there someone in his ear on 6 weeks being too short?
I think yes and yes.
Yeah.
I think it's both of them. You know, I think that if you are a pro-life person, you know what your stance is. You clearly know what your stance is on this issue. Right. So I think that
seems like an unforced error. I mean, if you're Donald Trump, you need the pro-life community to come out and vote for you in November. You need that. So why make the comment at all? I mean, my response, if I'm Donald Trump, is voting is secret for a reason, and I'm not gonna, share that with you. I'm obviously the most pro-life president that there ever has been because I established justices who overturned Roe versus Wade. So my position as a pro-life president is clear.
Well, look, I mean, we've both said on the show before that the campaign hasn't been great.
Yeah.
Right? Like they haven't really got their messaging very clear. I mean, then putting that out doesn't help at all, does it? It's like, well, hang on a second, don't believe your lying eyes about what he just said.
Right.
And this does appear to be a hot button issue right now. And I think that in one sense, the campaign is absolutely right in the sense that the Harris campaign is desperate to have some kind of win.
Right.
Because it's just such a disaster right now.
Yeah.
So from, in fairness to Trump, I think that what he's doing is he's saying, hey, listen, don't be trying to, because the one thing they're trying to do is paint him as this, like, Ann Vance is, abortion's going to be outlawed.
Right.
And as we've seen anyway, which I don't know why it matters anyway, because if you do look at that map about women voting, it would all be blue. It would all be Democrat if it was down to women voting. I hate to say, guys, like, you got to get it together. You got to get your sisters involved. But so I don't know why he would even bother going that way. But I do understand in a sense that they want to declaw and defang the other side. Mm-hmm. So I get it. Yeah. But again, it could be done in a much more diplomatic way. And I think that, unfortunately, this kind of leans into the fact that there's been a change again in his campaign, and maybe they're trying to get the messaging right, which, again, it's the GOP again, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Can't get out of their own way. On the topic of abortion, I want to welcome to the show Dan Steiner. He is president of PreBorn, which is, of course, a sponsor here on our show. And Dan, welcome. By the way, happy Friday. I just wanted to talk to you on this topic about, obviously, this is a states' rights issue. Thanks to Donald Trump's, establishment of these justices, this is now a states' rights issue. So I think that there are more babies being born, which is great. What are you guys seeing in regards to how this being a states' rights issue has impacted what you guys do? And please, obviously, I think this audience knows what you guys do, loves what you guys do, but please give them a refresher on what it is that you guys do over at PreBorn. It's so important.
Thanks for this opportunity, Sarah, and your partnership in saving babies across the nation. So far this year, over 39,000 babies have been saved because of the listeners here of the Sara Gonzales Show and The Blaze. And we've just begun. So after the fall of Roe versus Wade, all that we hoped for in the stopping of abortion turned to be quite to the contrary. There were more abortions in 2023 than there was in 2022. Now, how is that? Certainly, there's some states where there's less abortions, but there's more abortions overall, 1 million versus over 900,000. Now, that's because of chemical digital abortion that is serving abortion pills, chemical abortion, into your neighbor's daughter's bathroom. Over 1,760 women a day kill their babies in their own home. 65% of all abortions are digital chemical. Now, they obtain it where they obtain everything. Their entertainment, their packages delivered from Amazon, their friends on Facebook, Snapchat. And these are digital natives, millennials, Gen Zs, and Alphas that are getting the abortion pills. And it's more difficult than ever to stop abortion in America. And they knew this before Roe versus Wade fell. And so this is what PreBorn is doing, is creating a telehealth system to send these women, capture them on the internet, and send them to our clinics to receive the ultrasounds that we're underwriting here on The Blaze. And this is the battle. It's a new battle for stopping abortion in America than it's ever been, more difficult than it's ever been.
Yeah, which is, it's really jaw-dropping to hear that, because, you know, people, the pro-life community celebrated the overturning of Roe versus Wade, and then here we are. You're the one who is like down there on the front lines, and you're saying, actually, this has not stopped. It's just gotten worse in some cases, and we still need help. We need all hands on deck.
We're fighting the most brilliant fools. Fool says in their heart there is no God. You know, people from Stanford and Harvard and the Bloomberg Foundation and the Gates Foundation. These are brilliant people who deny the existence of God. That's the definition of a fool, that have written the plan that they implemented after they knew that Roe versus Wade could eventually fall, and it did. And so telehealth is their answer. They charge the same amount more in some cases than they do for a in-abortion clinic abortion. So they've not lost any revenue on this. They've not lost any. It's lockstep. But we're not asleep at the switch on this. PreBorn has an answer that we're implementing. We're able to meet them woman to woman, hour by hour on the internet, reaching these girls and giving them the answer, which is not just to meet their baby on ultrasound that God has given them, but also to introduce them to the one who gave the baby to them. That's the Lord Jesus Christ. And so we're optimistic about this. We're on it. And I wanted to mention, I was listening to y'all's conversation about Trump here earlier, too. And while it's distressing to hear about what Trump has said and backing off a little bit over the last couple of months about the abortion issue, he understands that 1 out of every 5, for sure, maybe 1 out of every 3 women in America have abortions. And that's why they're all blue, as you commented. They're going to vote pro-abort. Mm-hmm. And that's why he's moderating and bringing his position back to the center. Trump's a politician, but I got to tell you this. What you do, what I do, and what Trump do can be predicted by our past behavior. It's the best predictor of future behavior. This is the guy that overturned Roe. This is the guy that gave us Amy Coney Barrett.
Right.
And this is a guy that has people in his ear that love Jesus as much as you and I do. And if he gets to be president, it's going to be a good day. And you're hearing that from the most pro-life guy in America, okay? It's going to be a good day. I don't endorse any candidate. PreBorn doesn't. I personally endorse Trump, but PreBorn does not endorse any candidates or platform. But here's the deal. We know what his administration will do about abortion because we had 4 years of it. And we know what the Democrats will do if they get elected. This isn't about personalities. This isn't about character. This isn't about whether you like the candidate or not. It's simply only about policy, which Kamala Harris is completely devoid of, and Trump is very clear on, and it all checks the boxes that we want checked.
Yeah.
Simple math here.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. I know, because it's like, okay, so you can either vote for or empower the person by just not showing up to vote. You can either vote for a woman who is literally saying, she is telling you that she wants abortion up until the point of birth. Like she is all radical all the way on that issue. Or you can vote for the guy who established the justices who overturned Roe versus Wade. Those are your options. So when you see those options, it should become very clear to you what the right choice is if pro-life is like your issue. So, Dan, I appreciate you so much. Everything that you guys are doing, I appreciate your partnership so much. And I want to encourage everyone to please go to, I realize it's Joe Biden's America, so things cost more than they used to. But you can sponsor an ultrasound. What is it, Dan? $28?
Yes.
$28 for one ultrasound. And you could, that ultrasound can be the difference between life and death for that child. So you can go to preborn.com/Sara to donate, $28 for one ultrasound. If you can donate for a couple ultrasounds, please donate as you feel led to save babies, because it really is. If we are a society that cannot just decide that life is important, we're toast. So, Dan, I appreciate you and everything you do, and come back soon, please.
God bless you, sir.
Thank you. All right, we'll be right back. So let's just end the show how we started it, talking shit about Kamala Harris.
Kamala.
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 So she does this thing where anytime she's in front of any young person, she immediately talks to them like they're in kindergarten. And it's very, very difficult to watch. So let's watch Kamala talking. These are not kindergartners, guys, who are listening on audio podcast. These are actually high schoolers. And this is how Kamala is addressing them. Watch.
Our country is counting on you. All of you. You are leaders. By the very fact that you all are here in this room, doing what you do at this incredible school, doing it as one big team, understanding all of the different parts that fit together to create a team.
What is she doing?
What else do we know about this population, 18 through 24? They are stupid.
See, we
That is
forget.
why we put them in dormitories.
She thinks they're stupid.
And they have a resident assistant.
You forget. That's why she's talking to them like that, I guess.
I forget.
You see, children. So you see, children. Spoken like a true childless cat lady.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just saying, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and say this. I don't think you're qualified to run for the highest office in the land if you do not have skin in the game with children. Just going to go ahead and say it. That's disqualifying.
I'm down with that.
She clearly thinks that they're stupid. Don't vote for her, Gen Z. She hates you.
Mm-hmm. She hates everybody, to be fair.
That's true.